Out of all the wild stuff that ever happened in Adventure Time, Demon Dads, Candy Wars, Magical Crowns, the most heartbreaking part of the whole show was just a man and a kid trying to survive the end of the world. Simon wasn't a hero, Marceline wasn't some chosen one. They were just two people, broken, scared, and holding on to each other when everything else had already fallen apart. He protected her when the world ended. She stayed by his side long after he forgot her face. No romance, no destiny, just soup, lullabies, and a love that outlived memory, magic, and time itself. And that's the tragedy. Not that Simon became the Ice King, but that even when his name was gone, a part of him still remembered her, and it hurt. This is the story you never saw coming. And once you hear it, you'll never look at either of them the same again. So here's something wild. The Ice King. That weird old man obsessed with princesses and writing songs about how lonely he is. Yeah, that man used to be a fully functioning human named Simon Petrikov. Before all the kidnapping, before the beard went feral, Simon was just a chill dude, a historian, a collector, basically a guy who got a PhD so he could flex at antique stores. He didn't fight monsters or sling spells. He wasn't a chosen one. He just liked old stuff. And one very specific woman, Betty Groff. Simon was madly in love with her. Like, I'd time travel through existential collapse for you, level love, real healthy couple energy, until it wasn't. One day, Simon's out doing Simon things, probably sipping tea and cataloging dead civilizations, and he stumbles on this old crown being sold by a random dock vendor. Now, at this point, you'd think, cursed magical artifact from a shady dude in a trench coat. Maybe you don't put that on your head, but Simon, he puts it on like it's a party hat at an archaeologist's birthday. That crown gave him powers, sure. Ice magic, visions, the works. But it also came with a little side effect, complete and irreversible psychological collapse. The crown starts whispering. Simon starts forgetting stuff. Hallucinations kick in. Betty's worried Simon's writing diary tapes like he's auditioning for a Blair Witch reboot. And here's the part where it goes from uh-oh to we need help real fast. The more he uses the crown, the less Simon there is. He starts calling people the wrong names. He zones out mid-sentence. Betty's like, yo, we need to talk, and Simon's like, who are you again? This ain't quirky professor behavior. This is full-blown magical dementia. And just when he's barely holding it together, the Mushroom War starts. Boom. End of the world. Human civilization deleted. Everything Simon knew gone in a flash of radioactive nonsense. So now you've got this man barely clinging to sanity, wandering through a nuclear wasteland with a cursed crown on his head and no Wi-Fi. He's not trying to be a villain. He's just trying not to freeze to death or forget what year it is. By the time we see clips of him in Holly Jolly Secrets, it's already too late. He's making video logs to future strangers because he knows he won't remember who he is by next week. Then in Betty, we see how deep that love ran even after his brain turned to snowflakes and static. Her name was still in there somewhere. And in Come Along With Me, you realize he didn't just lose his mind, he lost everything else trying to protect it. So yeah, Ice King ain't just a weird cartoon old head. He's the final save file of a man who got glitched out by grief, magic, and a war that broke the whole planet. And that's just the start somewhere. So boom, it's the end of the world. Literally. Like full-on post-Mushroom War wasteland. Civilization, cooked, cities, rubble, Wi-Fi, long gone. And in the middle of all that chaos, Simon finds her. A little girl, scared, dirty, all alone. Her name is Marceline. Nobody knows where her demon dad is. Her mom's situation, MIA. All she's got is a torn dress, some ash in her lungs, and a busted little teddy bear named Hombo. And when I say busted, I mean that bear looking like it survived a house fire and then got run over by a tank. But she's clutching it like it's the last real thing left in the world, because to her, it is. Simon don't roll up on her like some superhero. He's not trying to be a savior. He's not even all there himself. He's a man running on fumes, sleep deprived, barely holding on to his own name, and he still stops to help her. Because deep down, that's who Simon was. Not a fighter, not a king, just a man who couldn't walk past a crying child in the middle of the apocalypse. From that point on, it's just the two of them. He feeds her chicken soup out of cans, pushes her around in a broken office chair like it's a stroller, tells her bad jokes, makes her laugh, even sings her the Cheers theme like it's a lullaby. Yes, that Cheers.
Day takes everything you got.
Where everybody knows your name. That's how far gone the world was. That song was their comfort blanket. But here's the thing. Simon's not okay. The crown is still with him. Always. And every time something dangerous pops off, and trust me, mutant slime monsters and radioactive deer are just Tuesday in this world. Simon has to put it on. And when he does, he loses a piece of himself every single time. Marceline hates it. She's just a kid, and even she knows that crown is changing him. She pleads with him not to use it, but he does. Not for himself, not for power. He wears that cursed crown because it's the only way to protect her. Imagine that. You know something is destroying you. You know every time you use it, you're less of who you were, but you still do it. Because someone smaller, someone in innocent is depending on you. That's what Simon and Marcy shows us. This isn't a fantasy duo. It's not a quirky apocalypse team up. It's a sick man and a scared kid trying to survive the end of the world together. And yeah, the show plays it subtle, but when you really watch that episode, you feel it. You feel the father-daughter energy. You feel the sadness in Marceline's voice when she tells him to stop using the crown. You feel the absolute fear when he starts slipping and calls her Gunter.
I love you, Simon.
I love you, Gunter.
The name he'll eventually give to a penguin he probably thinks is her. That's the moment right there. That's when you know the Simon she knew is slipping away. He keeps going, keeps pushing, keeps making her laugh, even as his mind breaks more and more. Because deep down, Simon doesn't care about being sane. He just wants Marceline to survive. So here's the thing about losing your mind. You don't always know what's happening, but Simon, he did. The man was hallucinating, seeing Betty like she was still there, rambling to himself, writing notes just to remember who he was, talking in loops like his brain was buffering. And through all of that static, all of that confusion, he still knew one thing, crystal clear: I'm gonna forget Marceline. That's it. That one thought pierced through the noise, and that's when he realized he couldn't let her see that. Not the moment he forgot her name, not the first time he looked at her and saw a stranger, not the moment she called him Simon, and he said, "Who?" So he did the hardest thing he could have done. He left, not because he stopped loving her, but because he loved her too much to let her witness the collapse.
Ouch!
You see, I have to go now.
No dramatic goodbye, no tears or speeches, just gone. Imagine that. The one person who protected you, who made you laugh when the world was burning, just vanishes. And you're too young to understand it wasn't abandonment, it was mercy. That's what happened to Marceline. Simon disappeared, and she was left to figure it out on her own. And that's when their paths split. Marceline, she survives. She adapts. She becomes a vampire, a punk rocker, a literal legend in the land of Ooh. She builds walls around her heart, but she keeps moving. Hurt? Yeah. But soft, never again. Meanwhile, Simon's transformation completes, and what's left is the Ice King. Not a villain. Not even a man, really. Just a glitch in the system. A lonely wizard who thinks penguins are people and writes love songs to women he doesn't remember meeting. And the wild part? He's happy, in his own twisted way. He's in his little snow castle, playing drums, writing fan fiction, completely unaware of what he lost. It's funny, until it's not. Until you realize that under that crown is a ghost with no idea he's dead. And Marceline, she remembers everything. That's what we see in Obsidian, in Everything Stays, in Marcy and Hudson. She's lived with the grief, she's carried the memory. And deep down, part of her is still that little girl, waiting for Simon to come back. But he never really does. Not completely. You thought this show was just candy people and fart jokes.
Don't candy people breathe out like a poisonous gas or something? Something like carbon dioxide?
I know! It's called... And it is deadly.
Nah, hold this trauma real quick. This is I Remember You, aka the episode that had grown adults crying in silence like they just lost a childhood friend. Time moves on. Ooh, changes. People forget. People evolve. Wars become myths. But Marceline, she don't forget anything. That's the thing about immortality. It don't just mean you live forever. It means your pain does too. Centuries pass. The world moves on. But Marcy's still here, watching everyone forget the Mushroom War ever happened. And then there's him, the Ice King, showing up uninvited, singing off-key songs about princesses, making snow cones, kidnapping royalty, just straight weirdo behavior. Everyone else sees a goofy villain. Marceline sees a ghost, not of some ancient wizard, but of a man she once called family. That's the heartbreak of it. Ice King don't recognize her. Not really. But Marceline, she knows exactly who he is, and then comes the episode. I Remember You. Starts off goofy. Ice King barges in like, yo, help me write a song so I can pull more princesses. Typical Ice King nonsense. But then he pulls out some lyrics, scraps of paper, torn journal entries, little scribbled thoughts that mean nothing to him now, but hit Marceline like a truck full of memories. Because those aren't just lyrics. They're notes Simon wrote to her. I'm sorry, Marcy. I'm losing myself. I'm scared I won't remember you. Literal cry on sight energy. So she helps him write the song. They sing. He drums. She sings the words. He repeats them, not knowing they're his own. And in that moment, Simon's in there, just for a second, screaming from behind the curtain. You see it in the way his eyes soften, in the pause between lines, like his brain can't remember. But his heart still does. And Marceline, she breaks, right in front of him, singing back the words he once wrote to save her, hoping maybe, just maybe, he'll come back. But he doesn't. He pats her on the back, says something goofy. And just like that, Simon's gone again. And you're sitting there, wondering why this cartoon just made you feel like you went through a breakup in a dream you barely remember. That's I Remember You. It ain't just a song, it's a funeral for a man who's still alive. So after centuries of snowstorms, princess kidnapping, and brain static, the unthinkable actually happens. Simon Petrikov comes back. And not like sorta comes back. Not just a memory leak or a soft little Gunter moment. I mean, he's freed. The crown's magic, gone. The Ice King, deleted. How? Betty. She never stopped trying to save him, even after he forgot her, even after he forgot himself. This woman literally fused with Golb, a chaos god who looks like anxiety had a baby with an eldritch abomination, just to stop the madness and bring Simon back, and it works. The crown is off, the magic is done, Simon's free, cue the happy ending, right? Right? Nah, because this is Adventure Time, not Disney Channel. Simon's not the Ice King anymore, but he's also not the man he used to be. He's alive, he's lucid, he's not singing to penguins anymore, but everything's changed. The world moved on, his friends are either dead or thousands of years old. Ooh is unrecognizable. And Betty, she's gone. Not dead, just cosmically missing in action after fusing with a chaos entity. So now you've got a man, no magic, no madness, just standing in the aftermath like, cool, now what? He goes back to Marceline. They see each other again. But it's not like before. There's no big emotional hug, no tears, just quiet understanding. Two people who have lost too much to cry about it anymore. In Obsidian, we see it. Simon just exists now, living a quiet life. He reads books, drinks tea, stays out the way. It's peaceful, but it's not what he imagined. Because when you've been lost for 1,000 years, coming back doesn't feel like a rescue. It feels like waking up in someone else's story. And Marceline, she doesn't try to fix him. She just sits with him. Because she knows the man who saved her isn't all the way back, but he's here, and that's enough. There's no big magic, no epic farewell. Just two survivors, living in the long, quiet shadow of everything they've been through. And sometimes, that's the best ending you get. Bruh, this hit way harder than I was ready for. Here's the real tragedy of Simon and Marceline. It's not that he forgot her, it's that he remembered just enough to suffer. He couldn't recall her name, but he remembered the ache. He didn't know who Hambo was, but something deep inside him missed that bear. And when she sang, he felt something, even if he didn't know why. That's the pain. That's the curse. Not dying, not being gone, but being half alive. Trapped between who you were and what the world turned you into. And Marceline, she watched it happen, slow, quiet, year by year. The man who once held her hand through the apocalypse, turning into a clown, a joke, a memory with a beard, not out of cruelty, not out of evil, just madness. Madness with no malice behind it. And even after all that, she still loved him. She kept Hambo. She played the songs they used to sing. She remembered for both of them. There was no kiss, no blood tie, no final battle. Just a broken man and a broken girl, saving each other in a broken world. Simon and Marceline were never meant to be heroes. No prophecies, no chosen ones, no grand destinies. Just two people who found each other when the world was ending. And maybe that's what made it so powerful. Not that they saved the world, but that they saved each other for as long as they could. Not with magic, not with swords, just chicken soup, old songs, and the kind of love that survives even when memory doesn't. If this story hit you even a little, drop a like so more folks can find it. Leave a comment. I want to hear what you remember most about Simon and Marcy. And if you want more deep dives like this, you already know what to do. Hit that sub button and stick around. 'Cause in a world that forgets, we remember.